presentations, so prepare yourselves to be rocked in 10 minutes by Ivana and myself. My name's Quintin, Oliver from Belfast in Northern Ireland. And 20 years ago next month, we reached the Good Friday Agreement, which has become famous around the world as a model of a peace agreement that democratically and peacefully brought to an end a violent conflict. It's a fantastic model. It had balance, it had power sharing, it had equality guarantees, human rights guarantees, it dealt with the issue of prisoners, it dealt with the issue of arms and illegal weapons, and it introduced the term constructive ambiguity. So issues that were too difficult to deal with, where it would have been I win, you lose, or you win, I lose, were cloaked in words that allowed alternative interpretations. And that was necessary at the time to overcome polarization. Now, Di made an interesting point earlier on the eve of the Australian advisory referendum on equal marriage, that Tiernan, the Irishman leading the campaign, said, now we will have to live together tomorrow, so do not be triumphalist. That was one of the mistakes we made. I ran the campaign to win the Good Friday Agreement amongst the people, but I will admit we were probably too triumphalist over those that we defeated in a successful referendum. And that caused a delay in full implementation, because we created the in-group, which was sensible and pragmatic and visionary, and the out-group, who were all the things we've been talking about for the last 2 days. Secondly, the very protections that you have to build in a situation of ethnic conflict have strangled us. So the protections that you may veto what I do and I may veto what you do have been overused. We have a particular protection called a petition of concern, which was designed to allow one side, Catholic or Protestant, Unionist or Nationalist, to say that offends our group rights and we will stop it. But that petition of concern has been used on everything, from housing to education to roads to where schools are built, and to protect politicians of one side or other from inquiries or scrutiny into corruption. For 9 months, we had a joint Prime Minister arrangement. By refusing to sign the agenda for the Cabinet meeting, the Cabinet did not meet for 9 months. And last year, the late Martin McGuinness, the leader of Sinn Féin in the Assembly, resigned, thereby pulling down the First Minister, because it's a joint post. So those protections to give each side confidence became our undoing. And now our agreement has plateaued and stagnated, and we have had no government for the last 15 months. Now, we've talked yesterday about some of the wider trends, globalization and people feeling very distant from big decisions being made over their heads. We've talked about growing inequality and those at the bottom end feeling the economic impact of the crash, of austerity, and of not having access to resources. And we, like everywhere, have faced the problems of trust. Trust in politics, trust in the political elite. So drain the swamp is a popular slogan in every political election campaign, and we have as many swamp draining posters and memes on our social media as anyone else. And that powerlessness is a threat to stability, and it can increase the polarization. So now that we have plateaued and we're in gridlock, each side is retreating into its own safe areas, physically and politically. And that means that you have a balance of doing nothing. Now for us, it's better that they do nothing than that they return to violence, and we don't want to return to violence. But the speed of change around us, Brexit being the critical example, and we are one of those in the UK and Ireland most affected by Brexit because we share a border. At the moment, because of the Good Friday Agreement, that border is non-existent. You do not notice it when you pass it, and you do not stop for customs or for ID checks. But post-Brexit, our fear is that our small island will be divided by that border, with Ireland in the EU and the UK, including Northern Ireland, outside it. So that creates further polarisation. And of course, in our context, if you're a Catholic, you want to stay in the EU, and if you're a Protestant, you don't, and you want the sovereignty of the UK to remain. That takes me to Project Fear, and we've talked about Project Fear a lot. I can claim some responsibility for the term. I had it above my desk with the hashtag in the 2014 Scotland campaign, because there is a good campaigning reason to create fear, to persuade people to vote in a certain direction. But that causes me a conflict internally about consensus building, about public participation, about negotiation, about mediation between opposing sides, which I want to do to live in a society free from violence. But in campaigning terms, you have to revert to different tactics and different techniques, and that's what I think we've talked about for the last 24 hours as success in campaigning, but perhaps with negative consequences for a society feeling at ease with itself and being able to tolerate difference from the person of the other religion, the other nationality, the other country, the other language, or whatever it is. That's what happened in Colombia. I worked on the 2016 referendum in Colombia, which interestingly failed very narrowly by 50,000 votes out of 13 million. But President Santos pressed ahead with the implementation after some renegotiation with the no parties. It's what's happened in Kurdistan, where an optimistic referendum last year by Barzani to take advantage of his success over ISIS and the disarray in the other countries in the region backfired. It's what happened in Catalonia with another ill-judged referendum that caused the problems that we heard wonderfully about yesterday. So we do need a new framework. And as someone yesterday said, of course it's all about relationships. And those relationships are difficult enough in the heat of contested politics, but it's even more difficult in contested, conflicted countries, because you killed my brother. I will remember that you killed my brother, and therefore it's even more difficult to make peace with your opponents in those circumstances, which is why relationships are key. Those aren't going to be any easier with the sort of regulation and heavy-handed regulation that we heard about this morning, because regulation has its role, but if it can kill innovation and democratic activity stone dead, then it's going to be a cause of further polarization. As campaigners, of course, we need to understand the context in which we're campaigning, and we need to promote the changes that we want. But in conflicted societies, we need to have a double understanding. So that common phrase of, oh, you people in Northern Ireland, why can't you forgive and forget? It is totally useless, because for us, of course, we remember. Of course we remember the atrocities and the awful things that the other did unto us. So we have a different term, which is remember but change. And that, I think, may be helpful in other contexts, if we can remember what is happening, what has happened, what we don't like about it, but change our attitudes, our behaviours and our relationships to make a better deal from it. Thank you.
So, thank you. Hi again. And this is so practical to put Ireland and Bosnia and Herzegovina together on the panel. Now I don't have to add anything. I just can switch some subject. We don't have a fight between Catholics and Protestants. We have a fight between Catholics, Orthodox and Muslim. But we don't like to call us like that. We like to call us Croat, as a BH, Bosnian Herzegovinian Croat, it's Catholic. But BA just Serbs, it's Orthodox, and Bosniaks, it's something new that they found out, just to have also something, not just Muslim. And I don't know if you have my presentation, or I can just agree with everything that my colleague said about okay, doesn't matter, what can we do? I wanted to show you the map of Bosnia and Herzegovina before war and after the war. Before war, during the communist time, we were really mixed. In the whole country, there was a mixture of Catholics, Orthodox, and Muslim. And Tito, our leader, and some call him war criminals, and some call him as a hero, and he done that. And he got a great idea to put young people together to work for the country for free, of course. And they built railway, they built streets and such things, and not just that they built some property for us, they built communication between them, and it's lost really until the beginning of the last war that we have, that you unfortunately passed. And after the war situation is so divided, all our politicians, they want to have their own part of the country. So not that they feel insecure, but they want to have full control over the country so that they can steal more money from citizens, not that they want to protect people, that they want like to present them like that. And in that course, I can say that most of the national leader at this time in Bosnia and Herzegovina are actually communist leader from last time, from this era before the last war. And at that time they pretended to be communists, that they didn't religious, and now they are pretending to be religious and not a communist, and the only truth is that they are only criminals. And we have, our politician doesn't have anything actually to praise with. They don't have result. In 3 years during this election, this term, they didn't build 1 meter of a highway. I mean, they could organize these young people to do that for them, but and it's not that we don't have the money, it's they cannot agree on which part is going to be theirs, personally theirs, and that's why they are not choosing the company to building this. And I'm coming to the fact that Bosnia and Herzegovina is really a beautiful country with great people, but with horrible politicians that are all organized in some organized criminal activities, and together with judiciary that allow them to steal more money from citizens. And that's why they are making some also, they are hitting the situation between two nationalities just to hide that we are in a bad economic situation, that they didn't give us anything. So they speak about war, they speak about some new weapons and something like that, and actually they have most to lose if we start a war. They have a huge property. Their property is approximated a few millions. And they earn it just like politicians. And you see the most prosperous job in Bosnia and Herzegovina is to be a politician. And their salaries are 500% more than average salaries in country. So it's not enough for them. They are stealing more money through the procurements and further. And the only way to win the campaign is through this national potential, like I choose Croatia, to protect Republic of Srpska, one entity, or to get united for Bosnia, because the Muslim alluded that they don't want to be overvoted from two other nationalities. And all that are not speaking like that are traitor, and they don't want to they present them in their media like that. All of the main government party of all those three peoples have their media and open broadcasting media, and they are the most with most power, and they have the full control of that, and they present whatever they want. And when we see one of the leader and none of the really leader from national parties is really nationalist. And one Croat, he proclaimed himself as a Yugoslav before the war. And his property is, I think, 5 million worth, and he even changed the flow of the river to pass through close to his house. And then a Serb leader that is now the most Serb was the first who admitted that in Srebrenica was genocide, and now he's denying that, and his property is also maybe 4 million. And he was during the war the cigarette smuggler. He smuggling the cigarette. And after the war, a few years ago, he got the loan for his unemployed son of 3 million. And he said, yeah, it's better that than that he become a drug addicted. And it was done that opposition could do anything against it. And the Bosniak leader, who is pretending to be the most patriotic, spent the war in the treasure of the central bank, hiding in a treasure. And then the campaign, we don't have some serious campaigning. It's enough just we are buying votes, and we are really on the right. Our political party is giving maybe 25 euros to the voter to vote for them. And if it's not enough, they are giving 25 euros to people not to go to vote for their party. If they know it, so they are going to go to opposite party. I mean, if it's not for them at the end of the day, if they see, oh, it's not enough, then they give them 25 euro more to go to vote for them. And then it's not important who is also voting, it's important who is counting the votes after the election closure, because it's a huge misuse of election procedure in our country, and the political party has the Central Election Committee on their side. They are under their control, so they can do whatever they want, but we try to fight against it. Then happily we have some opposition on each side, and also from this independent people that don't want to proclaim as any nationality or religions. So we have a few parties that are held part of Bosnia and Herzegovina, so it's not that everything is lost and we cannot survive. We could come on our feet really fast if we just get judiciary done. I don't know how Romania get this with this great girl, state prosecutor. She arrested more than 500 important politicians, but we hope for something like that, because judiciary is at this time together with politicians. And what less for us is also social media. We use it, but not opposition is also weak in our country, but we use social media, and not the opposition, but people, individuals, using social media. We had a great action. It ended also in the BBC and other international media, because it was so funny. The prime minister of one entity from Bosnia and Herzegovina, he said, you know, people in Bosnia and Herzegovina are spending so much money, it's not okay. I saw on the list of one supermarket that on the list of 10 most sold products are just 3 essentials. All others are luxurious: cigarettes, beer, coffee, and wine. And then we started with campaign on Twitter, on Facebook, posting coffee with milk, and said, oh, sorry, Fadil, it's my fault, I'm luxurious. I really live such a luxurious life. And it was it was such a lot of picture with half an apple, and said, oh, sorry, Father, I'm just eating half an apple, I don't have for the whole. And it made a huge impact also on political party. They realized that they have to be frightened of us, that we can harm them. And hopefully, some of when the judiciary is going to functioning, not half, but I think 40% of our politicians will end in jail, and that's our only hope. Then we can vote for some other. But I want to stress one more time: we have enough healthy people, enough healthy staff in Bosnia and Herzegovina to get well soon. Just we need this judiciary reform. I hope we are going to get it soon. Thank you very much.
questions?